This is H.V. Kaltenborn with a report on the coming New York World's Fair. First, we go to the City Hall and to the mayor of our great city, the Honorable Robert F. Wagner.
The New York World's Fair will begin in 1964 and will continue through 1965. This coincides with the 300th anniversary of the founding of the great city of New York, and we invite all of our friends throughout the United States, Canada, from all parts of the world to come and visit this great fair. Because not only will this be a terrific attraction, but New York City itself is a great attraction. And at that time, we will have open our great new Lincoln Center, which will be the cultural center of the world. Our new arterial highways will make it easier to get to the fair. And once you're at the fair, I know it will be an experience that all Americans and all visitors will be proud of and think of for many years, and I'm sure will help in the struggle we all go through for world peace in a weary and tired world of today.
The fair will be ideally located. First of all, this part of New York and its sister state, New Jersey, comprise one of the greatest metropolitan areas in the world. New York City alone, with its 5 boroughs, has a land area of about 320 square miles. Of this area, here is the geographic center. Close to it is New York City's population center. And here, ideally located in the very heart of the city, is Flushing Meadow Park, the site of the New York World's Fair for 1964 and 1965. Flushing Meadow Park is today an oasis of peace in a great city. But it was not always so. Once, where these trees now stand, rose mounds of ashes and refuse. In place of grassy lawns, there was a swamp. Then, by a heroic effort, all was changed. The swamp was drained. 30 years' accumulation of refuse and waste was towed out to sea. The Flushing Meadow became the site of the first New York World's Fair. Now, 20 years have passed, and the old fair is just a memory. The 1939-40 fair had a storybook magic about it that delighted everyone. Architects had let their fancies run, and enchanting shapes proclaimed a wonderland. This was going to be fun. President of the Fair Corporation was Grover Whalen. Its chairman of the board, Harvey D. Gibson. And at a cornerstone laying was a man named Robert Moses, landlord of that fair. The year, 1938. A scant decade since fateful 1929. The world was ready for a holiday. Fair was open. Come to the fair. And they did. By train and plane, by sea and land, by washtub auto and paddle canoe, they came to the fair. The Kew Gardens Loop was opened and the cars poured in. The parking fields were big enough to handle any crowd, or so the planners thought. But on October 6, 1940, Newspaper Day was held, and thousands of cars jammed the lots. But nobody seemed to mind. The fair was on, and the music was simply grand. Everybody got into the act, from Mayor LaGuardia to Milton Berle. It was a happy time. There were a dozen big shows. The Aquacade delighted everyone. Star of the show was Eleanor Holmes. There were stars in the audience, too. In fact, there were celebrities everywhere. But the fair wasn't all glamour and frivolity. In the second year, the American Common was dedicated, and Lieutenant Governor Charles Poletti spoke for the cause of peace. There were the exhibits, the finest in industry and culture from all over the world. Everything from tomato meeting of skills, industry, and the arts. At night, there was another kind of exhibit. Alice had her Wonderland and Dorothy her Land of Oz. But New York had the fair, and it was pure enchantment. On October 27, 1940, the New York World's Fair closed forever. It had been an earthly paradise, all too brief. Today, the meadow is once more quiet. The trees have grown to lovely maturity. The paths where millions trod bear the scars of age. The voices of multitudes and the sounds of music are gone from Flushing Meadow, but not forever. For work on the new fair has already begun. At the New York City building on October 27, 1960, Mr. Robert Moses, president of the New York World's Fair Corporation, arrived for the day's work. He is interviewed by John Tillman.
How are you, Commissioner? Nice to see you again, sir. If you don't mind, I'd like just to take a moment here to ask you a few questions about the 1964-65 World's Fair. Suppose we start out by asking, what is the overall purpose of the new fair?
Well, the overall stated purpose is education for brotherhood, and brotherhood through education. That's fixed in the law, in the Articles of Incorporation, and in the agreement with the United States Treasury. This has to be an educational institution to get tax exemption.
Mm-hmm. Now, physically, Commissioner, what will the new fair look like, do you think?
Well, physically, it will look not unlike the 1939-1940 fair, only better, bigger, taller buildings, same space.
What part will New York City have in the new fair?
You mean the city administration?
Yes, sir.
Well, the city exhibit will be in this building here, in the city building. And it will be one of the several exhibits. There'll be state exhibits. There'll be a federal exhibit. Exhibits of domestic exhibitors, industries, foreign exhibits.
And on the domestic level, will there be some very fancy and very expensive exhibits by American industry?
No question about that. There'll be more elaborate exhibits. There'll be more modern exhibits. There'll be more costly exhibits than at the last fair.
What do you feel will be the overall results of the 1964-65 fair, the effect on the world and so forth?
Well, it's very hard to answer that. Aside from amusement, aside from attracting people to New York, benefiting New York by bringing a great many visitors here from the hinterland and from abroad, I think it's likely to have a very substantial effect on international affairs. As the people meet here on common ground, there aren't any ideologies involved. There's no diplomacy involved. They simply bring their best products and exhibit them. It's just like an Olympic Games, excepting it applies to industry and business.
Thank you very much, Commissioner, for taking a little time out here from your busy schedule. And we have lots of work, and see you again. Thank you very much, sir.
As president of the Fair Corporation,